Let's talk herd.
I have this theory. It's a kind of, yeah, it's just an idea that's come to me over the time I've been learning about letting go of euthanasia and that kind of thing. You know, when there is a definite moment in my experience that you feel like something shifts. And I think that in general people sort of they interpret that as the moment when the horse starts to suffer. So, like, it's the moment the horse is telling you, I want, I want your help to. And I've interpreted it
Yeah.
as that before. But my
Yeah.
kind of idea now is that them just telling us, I'm ready to go and I'm ready for you to let me go. And that perhaps if we aren't holding on to them in the first place, it's like there doesn't need to be that big shift. It's more incremental. Because I didn't have that with my little dog that I
Yeah.
really had such a spiritual experience as well with her, because I just was ready to just support her into her death. And it was quite fast for her, because her last, up until really a few months before she went, she was very active and herself. And then she got these mammary tumors, and they began to grow bigger and bigger. And I didn't want to, I just felt that's her road home. I knew that. So I didn't want to mess with that or, do anything about that. That just felt. But she was going into her process. And I really felt like I could just embrace everything, like you say, and just do all of be there when she wanted me to be there and help her to go. Sometimes she wanted to go and drink outside, so I would help her. And, we had lovely times like that. But there was never like a moment when I felt like, oh, she's sort of gone in herself and she wants me to end her body. Or it didn't really work like that. It was like she knew I was always there. And the last night, she actually, I mean, for some reason, I woke up and went down to her like 20 minutes before she went. And I know she called me, and it was quite a gift from her, because she was always very independent, and she always kind of pushed away any help. So it just felt like really a really strong bonding experience. But yeah, so that's my kind, to get back to this idea that it's not, we're misinterpreting what they are saying to us about they're kind of getting us ready and saying, maybe my soul's leaving a little bit now. And if we let them, if we're kind of supportive, then they don't need to. This whole suffering thing is kind of something that we've maybe projected onto them. Or how do you feel about that?
Yes, I will say humans suffer
Mm,
because we judge our pain, or
okay.
we want to hold it away. And so when we hold it away,
Mm,
but it's still happening, we hold it away, we haven't learned how to, this is really going to sound bizarre, rest into it,
mm, mm,
learn how to surrender to it, learn how
yeah,
to uh, be with it. And I
yeah.
mean, that is really a tall order. And I don't, this is not this a flippant thing, because if
Mm.
I'm in pain, oh my gosh, you know, and there are people who have tremendous suffering going on in their life,
Mm.
tremendous, and this is not to minimize that in any way. It is a big thing. And someone, I've known people who have had chronic pain for like 25 years. They're not dying. They're not going to die from this, but they've had chronic pain for 25 years,
Yeah,
and they have learned, how do I deal with this? And
yeah,
so that's one thing that stands out to me. Ultimately, the only thing I know to do with suffering, or I'm going to call pain is to
mm.
turn toward it and feel it. And
Mm.
when I turn towards something and I feel it, something happens.
Yeah.
But I can't judge it. I can't be going, oh, I do this and now I'm going to do this, so it'll be okay. No, I
Mm.
can't even have that. I have to be totally open and
Mm.
surrender to it and allow myself to feel it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. And so with animals, um, ultimately, we don't know. I mean, they're
Mm.
their own being. We ultimately do not know. We can hypothesize about it and
Mm.
look at things and see how they respond. I mean, you could measure cortisol levels in them and see
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
physiological response is going on because,
Yeah.
that is a way to measure pain.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a lot of, I would say, with dying, because the veterinary profession is not educated on natural death and hospice unless they go get their own training by themselves after school.
Mm.
Because of that, they label everything as pain in the natural
Yeah.
dying process. So
That's
it's
true.
it's actually total misinformation. And
Yeah.
so when they sit there and say, "Oh, this is how you know when it's time," what they're really
Mm.
describing is the natural dying process. So I had one veterinarian post something, and he said, "Oh, when they stop eating, that's time. Like, if your
Yeah.
animal has
Yeah.
cancer and they stop eating, that is time, or else they are suffering." Well, guess what?
Yeah.
No, they are not suffering because they stopped eating.
Mm.
If there's any pain going on, it's because of your painful medical condition. Stopping eating is normal when you're
Mm.
dying because the
Yeah.
digestion is shutting down.
Yeah.
You don't need food to live anymore because you're preparing to die. And
Yeah.
so you don't need to eat. No, you are not
Yeah.
starving. This is not starving. This is the body's digestive system is shutting down. And if you eat right
Mm.
there, that causes pain.
Yeah.
So you let
Yeah.
it shut down, and then death typically is within about 5 days, up to a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
It could also be, for my horse, he stopped eating the day he died.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
stopped, we didn't see him eat at all that day, and that night is when he died. But you
Yeah.
don't know this when it's actually happening. You only know in
Yeah.
hindsight. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of animals that are euthanized where people think they're in pain, and they are not. They are simply just dying.
Mm.
The other
Yeah.
one is uh, in the dying process, later in the dying process, they'll be like not all mentally here in this world, like they're off somewhere else.
Yes. Yes.
That's a part of the dying process. And people
Yeah.
think, oh my
Exactly.
gosh, they're not
Yeah.
here. They don't respond to their name anymore. They have to be suffering. No,
Yeah.
they're half in
Yeah.
this world, half in the next. They are not in
Yeah.
pain. They're just visiting other
Yeah.
places where they're going.
Yeah. And you can
Or you'll
feel
have
that.
horses
Yeah.
that do, yes,
You can feel the soul.
yes, yes. They'll there'll be some horses, they'll start doing weird things, like they'll walk down the street to the neighbors.
Mm.
Why did they
Yes.
go in the water? Why
Yeah.
did they do this thing? They do something bizarre and they go, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, they're not right in the mind. We can't have this. They might end up somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, could they end up somewhere? Yes, they could. Check your
Mm.
fences.
Mm.
I just
Yeah.
I do want to
Yeah.
keep my horse on the property, not get hit by a car as we want to go down the road or something. But but that meant change in mental status.
Yeah.
That
It's
that
normal.
is later stage of dying. Now, this is for my horse. He never did that. He was
Mm.
always, his brightness in his eyes were always there.
Wow.
And
So
it just depends on
that
the
went right
horse.
up to his death.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's why I keep going back to the stages of dying and reading that article, and keep refamiliarizing myself with it so that when I see these things, I
Mm.
don't think it's suffering.
Yeah.
And with pain, if you have a painful medical condition, that's where the pain comes from, is the medical condition. It
Yeah.
doesn't come from dying. The
No.
actual shutdown process of the body in the natural death process is not generally a painful process.
Yeah.
So in hospice, we address pain issues if there's a painful medical condition going on through
Yeah.
comfort care.
Yeah.
So we don't turn a blind eye to it. We just don't say
No.
too bad. Um, but really, quite frankly, I got used to my horse sometimes eating, sometimes not eating. I got used to
Mm.
him dropping weight because he's not eating that much because he's dying and he's preparing to go. So
Yeah.
he went from a body condition score of a 5 down to a 2.
Mm. Yeah.
I had to get used to seeing that. He had no
Yeah.
problem with it. And
Yeah.
in 1 week, he dropped, I don't know, a couple 100 pounds. I don't know what he did. I have no
Yeah.
idea. I didn't have a
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah.
And it scared me, even though I knew this was normal. And I
Yeah.
would always, put my hands on him and he'd take his little nap and all that. Except now I'm feeling
Yeah.
his bones. And I was
Yeah.
going, whoa, whoa, I'm not supposed to feel your bones. Thank you very much. So this one
Yeah.
afternoon, my hand went underneath his neck to pet him and it caught the bone right there.
Yeah.
My hand has
Yeah.
never been caught on the bone at the base of the neck. And
Yeah.
I went,
Yeah.
oh. And then I'm standing there going, uh oh. And now I'm afraid. I
Yeah.
put my hands back to myself. Don't touch him. He's just standing there. And then I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm not supposed to feel this. What do I, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then the weight loss through his face, that was another one. In the space of a week,
Yeah.
it just, everything sunk. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I've never seen this. So anyway, so I'm out there with him, not wanting to touch him. And he's being patient for about 30 seconds. Because normally I would go out and put my hands on his hips. He takes his nap. And
Yeah.
so then he started repositioning himself, putting his rear end into
Oh
my
my
hands. Like,
God.
get your hands on there, lady.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's so
so I
amazing.
was going, and it was so clear that he wanted
Yeah.
my hands on him.
Yeah.
And I thought, how can I say no to him? I can't say no to him. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, I'm afraid I'm
Yeah.
feeling your bones. And so I thought, okay, fine, fine, I'll put them there. And I'm seeing the pelvis. I'm feeling this is just all stressing me out. And he's
Yeah.
putting his hips in my hands. And in that moment, I thought, okay, it's clear that he wants my hands on him. It's clear that
Mm.
he's happy about this. I'm the one with the problem. So I thought, I have to reframe what's happening here.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, okay, I'm going to thank the bones. These are the bones he's
Yeah.
had his whole life.
Yeah.
I'm the first one. Thankfully, he was never neglected, so he always had weight on him. He was never too
Yeah.
skinny, like body condition of a 2, never like that. And so I
Yeah.
thought, you know what? I'm the first person who gets to see and feel his bones before he goes.
Wow. Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
that opportunity. So then
Yeah.
I wanted to feel the bones, and so then I have my hands on them, and I could feel I could feel how it all went together. And I
Wow.
thought, how lucky am I that
Yeah.
he's letting me into this part of him?
Yeah.
No one
Yeah.
else got to have that in his. He lived 38 years. No one else got that opportunity. I
Wow.
got it, and
That's
I got that
amazing.
opportunity because I let him basically show me how
Guide.
to do
Yeah.
hospice for him and listen to him. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, the
Wow.
weight loss, the not eating as much, the change in mental
Yeah.
stuff, mental, if they're here and not there. The other
Yeah.
big one is a horse lays down. Those are all things people think, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I've got to euthanize him now.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was another person who told me their horse, something happened to their horse. They were laying down, and she knew this was the end. And she
Yeah.
goes, but he's so peaceful right now.
Mm.
It's like he just found his little place. And so she
Yeah.
goes, I'm just going to let him do his thing. He's peaceful.
Mm.
And I get to have these moments with him because I can see that he's peaceful. I know he's
Yeah.
dying, and I can allow this to happen. So
Yeah.
when we know what dying looks like in some of these stages of dying, we don't have to fear them.
Yeah.
If there's pain
Yeah.
going on from a painful medical condition, yes, we can address that through comfort care, but we
Yeah.
don't have to euthanize for it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, everyone's own relationship with pain will also dictate what we can handle. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like I got my
Absolutely.
limits, but they're
Yeah.
my limits. So I don't say, oh, the horse wanted to be euthanized. No, I say, I reached my limits and I could
Yeah.
not continue further with hospice care. Okay, then
Yeah.
I talk to my horse and say, here's what's going on for me, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but they're not asking to be euthanized.
No.
What are if they're asking for something? What I would guess they're asking for is the comforted connection.
Yeah.
But do I want to
Yeah.
be
And
killed?
maybe,
No, I got
and
this under control. I can do that.
yeah. Also, just to be get, because I think, especially with dogs, maybe they really feel the burden of our. I say burden because it can be a burden because we're
Yes,
holding on so tight. And I really
yes,
feel like sometimes they
yeah,
just need us to say, it's okay, you can go. I'm not
yeah,
holding you. But I think it would really help us if we could,
right,
instead of like fixing onto the physical form in the body, if we could think of
Mm-hmm.
it like that their soul is just expanding out. So almost like we can feel them more as they're dying. Their
Mm-hmm.
their kind of vaster self. We can feel that more. So if we can tune into that, because their body needs to get frail to let go. Because horses are so strong
Yes.
and powerful. You know, I mean, they need to, because otherwise they'd never
Yeah.
go. And so, in a way, we just have
Yeah.
to see it
Yeah.
as not an end, but just a change, you know? And I think that would,
Yes.
but then it's
Yes.
becoming aware of the soul and and just the personality. I think if we could, and I think that's something that goes out into it's not just about the end of their life. I think a lot of the time horses are very suppressed. And so we don't really realize until we have a horse that's fully expressing themselves that we don't realize
Right.
how expressive they actually can be. And we think that they're a little bit
Yes.
switched off, because a lot of them are. So I think there's a big learning process there really happening.
Yes. Yes. And I like your point about them being really strong in a physical body.
Mm,
And the dying process is the death of the physical body. And then the
mm,
separation of the physical body from the spirit. And so it's a big process to bring that
yeah,
physical body to a close.
yeah.
And yes, it is not on our timeline.
It feels kind of delicate as well.
Yes.
Yeah. It feels like there's a real
Yeah.
it's almost like it's unpicking, like in this particular way. And when we euthanize, there's just a kind of blanket, like a ripping apart, and
Yeah.
that's what I think
Yeah.
ultimately why I felt so bad about it, because it just felt like a just force, like a forcing of the spirit.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think if we could become aware of,
There's a death doula um, I was reading about, and she was saying euthanasia is energetically violent.
mm,
I
yeah,
go, oh my
it
gosh, that's why it
feels
doesn't
like
resonate
that.
with me. I've never had those
Yeah.
words. Yeah. She said, and now she um, does, okay, this is where I don't, this parts ways with me, but she'll
Okay.
do ceremonies, like if they do decide to euthanize, they'll do ceremonies of, of thanking the poison for this
Okay.
act,
Right.
of bringing end of suffering for this animal. If in their eyes they're deeming what's happening as
Yeah.
suffering, it may be, I
Yeah.
don't know, I wasn't there, but they'll put a ritual around it
Mm.
to honor some of these things that are happening. For me, I that doesn't resonate with me. Like I
Mm.
no, I don't want to ritualize something that's energetically
Yeah.
violent. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I prefer to go. I prefer to go look at pain and be in it.
Yeah.
I want to be in the energy of the pain cycle.
Yeah.
I want to be in this thing that scares me. I want to open my
Yeah.
heart further and be further in. I want to know myself even more deeply. And I want to
Yeah.
know what do I do with this part of life that's painful? Or what do I do with this part of life that's not even painful? It's just dying and it scares me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to be in that energy because it's normal and part of the life cycle.
Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
um, euthanasia, when she said it's energetically violent, I thought, oh my gosh, I understand why it's never resonated with me
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
why. So then I'm
Yeah.
going, oh, okay. So yes, when animals are euthanized, okay, so she interviewed a veterinarian, and this was so enlightening because he had done euthanasias, and so what they do and what I do are totally different. But I was curious. I
Mm.
just wanted to understand them and where they're coming from. And said she said something to the veterinarian and just acknowledged the toll it took on him to euthanize
Mm.
animals.
Yeah.
Like she
Yeah.
acknowledged that, and he just paused, and tears came to his eyes.
Yeah.
And I looked at that. I thought, wow, look at that. That he's a human being. Ultimately, he doesn't want to be
Mm.
doing this. This is
No.
what they have, and he has decided that he's going to do this for people. And but it takes a toll on him, an emotional
Mm.
toll. And she was recognizing it, and I thought, wow, that is beautiful to me,
Yeah.
now we're getting into the heart. We're getting into the
Yeah.
heart of what's happening here. And he made a comment. He said, two things will happen when you euthanize an animal. Either they go quickly or they fight it. And then he
Right.
said the ones that fight it are the ones whose owners are ambivalent about it.
Oh,
So if the owners aren't sure,
they've got a
then the
doubt.
animal doesn't go, it gets messy. But he
Wow.
said with the animals where the owners are sure and they've come to peace with that, then usually the euthanasia goes better. And I thought, well, now that's
Wow.
fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So there's a relationship we have with our animals,
Mm.
and that
Very
influences
strong.
what's happening. Now,
Yeah.
I had a friend who that was the scenario, and she said that euthanasia was the most traumatic thing she's ever seen because the dog fought
Mm.
it, even though the
Yeah.
dog was dying of cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one person in the family, it was time. They were emotionally, for them, it was time. That's what
Yeah.
their words. And for the other one, she wasn't sure, but went ahead with
Mm.
it anyway. And then I'm going, and here's what's ironic: the dog was dying, he was
Mm.
losing weight, he was going through the natural dying process. I
Yeah.
would argue on an energetic level, he was at peace.
Yeah.
And then because we're trained to think we have to euthanize these animals, that you can't possibly die of cancer and not be at peace.
Yeah.
Well, some people are not, some people are,
Mm.
and but so this dog, he actually, the euthanasia did eventually take effect and it did kill him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then he's appearing to two different people, totally who don't know each other post death, and he's stuck.
Wow. Yeah.
He's stuck. It was not his time.
Yeah.
His time, like when is his time? When he dies on his own.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
may not like it, but that's his time. Who knows his time? Him and his maker.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't
I
possibly
really
know.
agree.
I'll see the changes. I'll notice that dying process happening, but it doesn't mean, Mary, go do something. It means
Yeah.
this is happening and we're progressing towards death. And there was
Yeah.
another animal communicator who's done a lot of this for a long, 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 long time and is a big proponent of natural death. And she said, yes, I communicate with animals who are stuck because they've been euthanized before their time and they don't know
Mm.
what to
I've
do
read about that.
because
Yeah.
the process has been interrupted. And the other thing that comes to my mind is that in people, they'll have deathbed visions, and this
Mm.
can happen a year before death, moments before death, 2 weeks before death. It can be anywhere. And it's
Yeah.
someone, or sometimes an animal, will come to accompany them. And
Wow.
and so when that starts to happen, it's like, this is the process. But if we don't know that, and we
Mm.
euthanize someone before their best friend comes,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
there's a
Yeah.
spiritual reality here that takes care of itself. This
Yeah.
animal is not left on its own.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, who made him, the animal, and all the other creatures and all the creation, and whoever has gone before it, all of that, there's another reality out there,
Yeah.
and we're blind to it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like another
yeah,
symptom, because what you talk about of going
yes,
into the pain is really, feels like it's really fundamental to the way that I feel energy. And I've kind of learned it first with the craniosacral therapy, but because that is about engaging. So you engage with how you feel, you go into pain, and going into pain is just
mm-hmm.
listening to, like, the pain is a sick is your body communicating with you, and it wants you to
Yes,
focus
yes,
so that you're helping it, you're
yes,
just giving it the energy it needs, the presence.
yes,
So in a way, the more you get used to doing that, the less you sort of experience pain as pain, and the more you just feel what your body needs you to focus on. And so
yes,
it's
yes,
almost like all of these things that we do in the Western society are expressions or examples of how we're getting away from ourselves. Like, we don't listen
yes,
to what we are, which is energetic beings, vibrational beings. We don't want, it's like we need everything to be proven to us outside of ourselves. And we're never
yeah,
really going to find
yeah,
that, because all of the answers are inside of ourselves. And we just have to trust that. It's really about trust, isn't it? So it's, yeah, I mean, the dying process is another. And I think it's amazing how, you people like you are like really bringing it to the forefront now and like making it possible, making people realize that there's something else about it that we're missing, or we maybe didn't, realize. And just, it's really powerful for our evolution, I think, of our whole species, really, and our own dying as well. Just to realize that we don't have
Yes.
to be so
Yes.
so scared about it all, and that it is. And I mean, I kind of look forward to dying. I feel like, I don't feel like I don't want to die yet because I'm
Yeah.
enjoying living. I like being
Yeah.
alive.
You're not done yet.
Yeah, but I kind of know that I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna just die randomly. I know that I'm gonna die and
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it because I feel like, wow, it's gonna be like going back into the real world in a way. Like, it's not that it's not real here, but it's like we're kind of only a
Yeah.
tiny bit of ourselves here. And there's
Yeah.
so much that
Yeah.
but I think it's so amazing that we're able to there's so much there that we can become aware of before we die. And
Yeah.
that's what life is about to me. I don't care about proving anything because to use that expression that my husband hates, at the end of the day, we don't we have to feel it, we just have to
Yes.
trust.
Yes.
Because even if somebody else told you
Yeah.
that they'd proven something, it doesn't make it real for you, does it? You have to
Right.
know. Yeah, I mean,
Yes. I would say it's a felt experience.
yeah,
It's a felt experience. Hospice
yeah,
care is a felt experience.
absolutely.